Good morning and welcome to the 20th episode of Blabbing for Britain. When Jon and I started this 5-6 months ago, we'd no idea how far we were going to go. And I was just watching the first show back the other day, and we've come a long way since then, haven't we, Jon?
Yeah, although we're both still sitting in the same place we've definitely come a long way.
Oh yeah, I mean it was interesting watching it, but we're sort of more relaxed now, more at home, and that's just happened with time and actually doing the shows. Now, in Blab news, there are now unlisted blabs. When you go to set up a new blab, you have the option to actually have the blab in public or unlisted. Now, if a blab is unlisted, it won't show on the front page, it won't show on your profile, it won't show anywhere. And the URL is a discrete 40-character number, which nobody's going to guess. So only people who can see your blab are people you give the link to. Now, all of which means that effectively private blabs are here. Yeah. Because you can start the blab, you can set it for some time in the future, and then you can invite people along. So if you want to hold a seminar, a webinar, a training session, anything that you don't want to go out to the wide world, you can just do that, set it up as an unlisted blab, and away you go. And we've tried the feature out in the Blabbing for Britain Facebook group, and it does everything it says on the tin. I mean, it's going to change things for certainly people who want to do anything which is to an audience but private. I can see somebody setting up a pay gateway somewhere and saying, right, okay, I'm going to talk about Excel on the 4th of April, and if you want entry, it's $5, and this is the link which you'll get when you pay $5. Yeah.
I think it could be very interesting, very interesting. I can see other groups using it as well. You know, non-commercial groups who struggle to meet. I can see business clubs going online as well.
Indeed, yes. I mean, I've done it publicly with the Wiltshire Business Club, but there's no reason why they shouldn't have a private meeting.
Well, you've done it public with the Solihull Business Club as well.
That's true. Yes, I have. That was one of the first ones we did. When we were interviewing Sarah, that was one of our earlier blabs too. And you had the whole of Solihull Business Club watching live on the big screen.
Yep.
We'd push technology to the limits then. So the unlisted blabs are a great step forward. That's the good news. The other thing you might notice.
Look, they've just pinged in at the top.
Oh, welcome everyone. Right, the other thing you may have noticed on the screen, which I hadn't noticed before, next to the Blab beta sign is a whole crowd of people. If you press that, then you'll be able to see who's online of your friends. And if you want to blab hop from our show to somebody else's show, then you can do it quite easily. I'd probably been there for yonks. I mean, I just didn't see it. So
it's a bit like the thing on the front screen, though. That does the same, really, doesn't it? Because that tells you which of you.
Yeah, but the thing with this is that it's just a sidebar overlay.
Yeah.
So you can still see us talking, and you can bring that up and then press anywhere on the screen, it disappears. So you're not actually leaving this blab to find out who's online or where to go to next. So I posted about it, and then Leland said, no, that's been there for ages. I said, no, I've just noticed it. He said, so I rephrased my post and said, you may have missed it. Because I certainly did. Yeah, and the other thing in Blab is we're going to come back to our bugbear, which is the front page. Now, I don't know why they time these things, but at midnight tonight, there is a Blab run by Blab themselves, which is the Blab front page, which they're going to talk about. and it says something like Blab front page progress report or something like that. Now, you and I we stayed until midnight the other day, didn't we? And we went to watch a show called New Times 2. What are your thoughts on New Times 2?
Old Times 2. Anyone who'd been into Blab knew everything they blooming talked about, really.
Yeah.
Okay, we did meet 2 new members of staff. That was a positive to know that there are two new members of staff. But they didn't tell us anything we didn't know, which was the disappointment.
Yeah.
I think it was overbilled. That's the phrase I'd use.
Indeed. I mean, we've got expectations, and they were not fulfilled at all. It was good to meet the 2 new guys, as you say, but we knew everything that was going on. But if they're the guys who are going to be out in the community with Brittany, then very good. But there was certainly up for it. I heard somebody mention, I mean, they've only been there 2 weeks and they've already got the Blab ethos that Blab is great, which it is. We know it is. It's just a British reserve. We don't expect to see people to go around saying we are great. Right. Okay. And finally, on the so that's the front page one coming up. And that is hopefully going to tell us what's going on with the front page, because we've got to say this. I mean, we after this show we'll repurpose this on YouTube and on Facebook, and the viewing figures for this Blab are constantly over the 100 mark. But that's not the live one. It's taken in total. So our live audience figures, because people can't see us on the front page, have taken a knock, but we're still here and we still enjoy talking, and Stephen's with us and all's well with the world. Yeah,
I think so. We just have to find out what they're going to do to give us the opportunity to get new followers live. That's the thing. Although I came in through the front page today, so I have to say it was there at least half an hour.
Right. Okay, well that's good, and we'll be showing us live on air now, which is good. But you've got to be connected to people, and the people who've been complaining about that, the people who are gurus, who have 1,000 people following them, and they only follow 20. Now, because they only follow 20, they don't see any Blabs, because it's based on the people that you follow, not on the people following you. So gurus have lost out big time. Not that we're against gurus, because there's some nice ones about, including Jonathan Tripp. Morning, Kelvin. This is a very local show today, as we're blabbing for Britain. And one of the first things I noticed, thank you. Okay, appreciate it, Kelvin. It's good of you to stop by. We're just chuffed that we've made it to the 20, and we'll go on until we reach the 100, which is going to be yeah. The audience is...
Calvin's in very, very quickly.
Okay.
Calvin's got a new Blab that is running for MG appreciators, or whatever you want to call them, fanboys. So if you're into MGs, it's worth having a look on Calvin's list of Blabs. Right.
Okay. And thank you, Maya. I too look forward to blabbing later this month, and it's going to be a great month of Blabs. Just whilst we're getting going, Jon and I are doing a special a week on Friday, Jon. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know quite what we're doing, but you and I need to sort that out with.
Well, I've got one idea, and it's certainly our era. I've been thinking of doing something called the Sixties Show. Do you want to guess what it is?
We're going to play loads of 60s records, aren't we?
Yes, it is. I've got a playlist. I have a 60s playlist of all the best songs from the 60s, and we can work our way through that. Now, I do anybody who wants to join in with your favourite 60s YouTubes, then come along. We'll drop them into the slot and we'll just sit there playing them while we support Don't Stream and Drive, which is Sergeant Neil's promotion. Well, not promotion, it's a cause, isn't it? and international calls. I mean, it could be a fantastic day because he's got a lot of support, hasn't he?
Yeah, and we've been. I've been driving some people to the Thunderclap as well.
Yeah.
And it's now just shy of 1.6 million people on the Thunderclap.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
When we last talked to him, it had just broke the 1.2 barrier. So.
Right. Okay. There are people joining us all the time, John, on our 20th celebration show. Good morning, Simon. Now, we'll in other news. Let's get away from. I'm
shaking my head then because suddenly the Blab disappeared.
Oh right, okay. I'm still here. You're still here. I can still see you.
I suddenly switched browsers without touching anything. I'm having a few problems with my machine. I think it's going to be a rebuild weekend.
Ah, right. Okay. Oh, okay. I understand that, Simon. Things are improving, but once you're actually here now, so that's good. Now, as we know, on June 23rd, it's the vote as to whether we stay in Europe or not. And just a little note on that this morning, which may or may not sway your decision. It will affect football if we leave.
Football.
Yes, if we leave. The problem is, I'm gonna. All right, I'm gonna post a text. I'm taking it from the BBC. I'll post a text. And the magic. Players with an EU passport are currently free to play in the UK. Those without must meet Home Office criteria. The most important being that they're established internationals for leading nations. Now, of the 400 foreign players that are actually probably more than in the UK at the moment, not everybody meets those criteria. They can't all be playing for a national team. So if we do leave Europe, it could affect our footballers in the short term.
Well, it's certainly affected the team of mine, which is full of French and Belgians. Managerless now.
Yeah, I mean that's it. The Brexit people are going to be saying, you know, what we should have is homegrown talent in all the Premiership clubs, and Sky TV will be on the sideline saying you can't do that. When Sky say you can't do that to football, then they've got to listen. I mean, what's the deal worth now? Billions?
I don't know. I don't pay that much interest, if I'm really honest.
It's worth about 1.5 billion. Which is a lot of money. Right. Okay. Thank you, Stephen. Right. Okay. Right. Okay. In honor of the fact that we're here because people have called in and joined us on air. If anybody wants to press the call in button, then you are more welcome to do so. And just, yes, it's time. Yep. Just press the button, join in, and let's chat about anything you want. It's totally free format today. I can't think of anything else that's actually happening in the world today. I'm just looking at the BBC website to see if we can pick up anything of interest.
Yeah, well, Tesla are launching their new cheap car today.
When you say cheap, John, what do you mean?
Low price. Oh, $25,000 electric car.
Oh, wow. Uh-huh.
There was a discussion about it on BBC Radio 4 last night.
Yeah.
Nobody's seen any pictures. Nobody knows what it's like, but it's supposed to be only $25,000. And nobody knows whether there's a real one yet or it's just an announcement.
When we went to Berlin last year, we went past the Tesla showrooms, and the cars were slightly more than $25,000 in that showroom. Yes, so 20. But I think we have to sort of break away from using oil, don't we? So electric is the way to go.
We've looked a couple of times at the Renault Zoe. My wife's mileage is negligible. It's the fact you only rent the batteries that puts me off the Renault. So.
Oh right, okay. So you tied in to you've got a fixed cost.
They haven't got the long life that Mr. Musk has successfully developed for batteries.
Right. Okay, so that's got. I hate saying
rental. The idea is that you rent them, and then when they're knackered, for want of a better word, they're replaced. Yeah, and because you rent them, but if you look at the economics, it doesn't make sense any longer because you're renting the batteries because the rental's quite high.
I'm going to hate saying this, but we're allowed a few puns on the 20th show. So it's got to trickle down, hasn't it? The actual benefits. Sorry,
that was awful.
It was awful.
Stephen, have you been practicing that one?
No, I don't do puns normally, but that one just occurred to me, and I thought I'd use it as it was there. Yeah. Okay. Now, the other thing we've covered in previous shows is, and it's going to keep coming back to us at least until June, and that's the US elections, which are boring, John. I agree. We get rhetoric every day.
I've decided that Mr. Trump is making such outrageous statements. He clearly doesn't want to be president.
That's the impression I'm getting, because he's saying something like saying that if you have in the States, once they pass a rule which is anti-abortion, that abortion is illegal, and if you have an abortion, then you should be punished. You quickly backtrack from that. But I mean, a lot of things that he says are untenable. And you think, how can people be taking him seriously? It's just
Did you see the article from his publicist who's jumped ship?
No.
Oh,
no.
Right. We'll have to find that and peg that in. But basically, she's saying she's seen the real him, and now she's out, and she's telling everybody not to vote for him because there's only one thing in his mind, and that's himself. He's not interested in anybody else, just himself.
Yeah, it does seem to be like one big reality show. Stephen and Simon, do you have any thoughts on it at all? Please join us on here if you wish.
He just wants to build a big fence between them and Mexico and send the bill.
Well, yeah. I mean, he wants the Mexicans to build the fence. Morning, Stephen.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Oh, yeah.
Very good.
It's just regarding Trump. I just find it's like you couldn't write it. You couldn't write a script better. I mean, they've done the same things in West Wing and a variety of US TV shows. It's a terrible situation. The alternative to Trump is Cruz, who I remember we had a guy blabbing us from the States, a young chap about 4 blabs ago.
Yeah.
You know, the overrun, and Cruz is even worse than Trump, could you believe? But I think it all just points to a Hillary Clinton presidency in November. I can't see any other option, really. Although there was a thing that Trump said he was going to renege on his promise not to run against an official Republican if he didn't get the nomination. But it all points to Hillary. So I think that the bookies have still got as the, should we say, presumptive nomination, and then president. No, case closed. It's just entertainment from Trump. It's just crazy. But I just want to let you know one thing. I've got my passports arrived.
Yay! 7
days.
Brilliant.
The interesting thing was I had an email from the ESTA people, the American visa waiver guys, and border security guys. First of all, saying that my ESTA had been revoked because I didn't have a chip in it. And then a few days later, sorry, your passport's fine, so your ESTA's fine. So that was a little story from America land. And you mentioned the EU, Stephen, earlier.
Yeah.
And the sort of the steel things kicking off really tragically, I suppose. And it just struck me that the Germans and I believe the Italians flout EU regulations regarding lots of things, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
But we're always the one to play by the rules, or so it would appear. And I was just wondering what that would do to the old June the 22nd or June the 23rd referendum.
That's true. Morning, Simon.
Morning,
Good
Simon.
morning. Good morning. Just a quick thought, going back to the Donald Trump thing.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't think he's the problem.
Okay.
The problem is that society has got so fucking got so screwed up that people listen to him. He's a lightning rod. He's not the problem. Is that making sense? The fact that people believe him, that people are prepared to go along with him, that's the much more serious, significant, long-term problem than just one head case. Right.
Okay. So he's the focal point for a nationwide problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Am I out on a limb here? Am I the only person that kind of thinks? Yes, he's clearly he's kind of odd. Let's use the politically correct phrase for completely crazy. He's a little odd in his views from our side of the point. But the fact that the fact that he resonates with so many people is what really kind of disturbs me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I agree with you. Because you watch his rallies and it's like a rock concert, isn't it?
No, you watch his rallies and it's like pre-war Germany.
I've heard that said in this household too.
I mean, yes, he's using the same techniques as people like Tony Robbins and rock stars and things to kind of bully people into thinking in a certain way. But the sentiment. Now, I'm about to go out on a limb because I've not checked this yet, so bear with me.
Okay,
So tell me that I'm talking cobblers if I am. But I was talking to a guy yesterday who was suggesting that he'd seen a news story in which people had been read as they came out of a Trump meeting. They'd been read statements that he'd said, and asked if they'd agree with them, and they'd gone, yeah, it's fine. And it turns out they'd actually been read quotes from Hitler, not quotes from Trump. And people didn't realize that they were being conned and just went, yeah, it's fine. Obviously, that's the worst American accent you've ever heard in your life.
Not the worst, no, but it's getting there. The problem is, the thing is that my mind's gone blank. Carry on. It's back now, sorry. We've been told that the European war that was certain that Hitler can't happen again.
Yeah.
But it can. This is true. It's not. I mean, we can't equate the two.
You're kidding. I've just spent some time in Dubrovnik. European war, very, very, very easy. There are still bullet holes in the walls. There are still raids across borders. Now, whether that's true or not, it doesn't matter. People think that live there. They think there are raids across borders. Is that making sense? So something got burnt down, and the first response of the people that ran the hotel where I was staying was, "Oh, it's the Serbs raiding across the border again." Frighteningly easy to see how that could explode a second time, and given the way World War II started last time with kind of a gradual conflagration, I can't see that there's necessarily a problem. Hey ho, I'm not suggesting I have a solution. I just wanted to rant. I've done my middle-aged Mr. Angry. I'm now going to bugger off and let somebody else in.
Okay.
See you guys.
See you, Simon. Thanks. Take care. Right. Okay. And good morning, Peter. If you want to join us on there, you're more than welcome to do so. We're sorting out the global problems today. And Stephen, you mentioned the steel. Now, this has brought Mr. Cameron back from Lanzarote and our business secretary back from Sydney. And there's a meeting going on this morning, and 40,000 jobs are at risk.
Obviously, I don't know anything about the situation. It just strikes me as another, dare I say, privatization mess.
Right. The backdrop to this is that China's economy is slowing down a bit, and they've got more steel than they know what to do with. So the steel that's being imported into UK from China is far cheaper than we can actually make it. And Tata Steel, their plant down in Port Talbot, are losing $1 million a week. So they're willing to give it away because it saves them $365 million a year. And basically, the Indian parent has said to the European company that runs this, get it sorted. And there are three options. One is a government buyout, which is what you mentioned, privatization, which would cost the taxpayer $1 million a week as soon as we take over responsibility for it. And the problem with that is obviously as we're going in as Europe, we've got the other problem that we can't put a subsidy in there because, as you said earlier, the French and Germans seem to get away with it. We just don't do it. And the other option is for it to be sold privately. But would you buy a company that's losing £1 million a week? I think that the thing is that I think the steel industry is something you've got to have.
It is. I heard there was an interview with a union guy on Radio 4 this morning, and he was just asking a question. You supported the banks to the tune of £1 trillion or so, and then when it comes to and the guy made a really good case for the fact that the steel industry underpins loads of different industries, engineering, manufacturing. Can we afford to lose that industry? There's also an issue to do with the price of energy that the UK steel industry pays compared to the Germans and other Europeans. I don't understand the economics of it, but I don't know. I mean, what does kind of there's so many different people playing the spin game, and of course Cameron's come back from holiday, and what on earth the business secretary was doing in Australia, who knows? But I don't see a happy ending to it. I really don't. Sorry, it's a bit depressing, isn't it? Morning, Peter.
Morning, Peter.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you and see you.
Well, I'm sitting in a van outside KFC in Aberdeen with my couple of guys that work for me, and I've put them away for the coffees from Costa.
Right.
The reason I mention Costa is because they're sending me vouchers for mentioning them. But it's very... I'm doing my new product placing my vans, but listening to what you're talking to, I was listening to the state with the steel.
Yeah.
I can see why Mr. Trump's doing what he's doing. If only he worded it better. For instance, he's going to put a tax on China flooding their market. Yeah. I bet the steel workers would like that in this country.
Indeed, it would put an import duty on foreign steel would sort it overnight, but would cause problems elsewhere.
Yeah, and the other thing is, listen to radio television earlier this morning when Ravenscraig in Scotland went.
Yeah.
Right. They thought there'd be no jobs. Did you know that 90% of them got jobs through the local enterprise or whatever it was, and they used their skills and went elsewhere? But the problem we have is, if we are dependent on other countries, we could have a problem should there be maybe a war in that country, a civil dispute. Yeah. We are wide open to being left. So there are certain industries, for instance, now I'm a conservative, I can tell you that now. Possibly I'm right wing of centre at times, but I've got a social conscience. And one of the problems is get British Rail back, for instance. We didn't like British Rail, but at least it was all one place. Utilities, I don't think people have to fight for utilities. I think it's something that we'll all need: water, electricity, and stuff like that. It's okay having a free market, but going back to what's happening, as I say, the steel workers here. But the thing is, we would have to buy their steel. That's the problem. But did you know, going on to it, do you know how many jobs have been lost in the oil sector here in Aberdeen? Can you take a guess?
Loads.
Yeah, tens of thousands.
It's actually at the moment about 75,000 with the knock-on effect.
Yeah.
There are so many people being thrown into self-employment in Aberdeen. I've never seen so many businesses, micro businesses. And that's what Britain is made up of now. It's micro businesses, people like you and me sitting here today doing our own thing. The days of a big company carrying you, in my opinion, are over.
Yeah, it's a good point. What are your thoughts, Stephen?
There's always a lot of support. I remember it down in the Dover area. There's a bio industry. One of the big leaders there pulled out, and their premises, which was huge, over several acres, 100 acres, I don't know. started turning into sort of little support centres for small businesses, drop-in offices and virtual offices and that sort of thing, which is what Peter's talking about.
Yeah.
I used to work for BR. I was in the personnel and payroll systems group, and I remember the sell-off. I know, obviously, can't go into detail here for libel and all that sort of thing, but it was incredible. And I think that the support that's given to the larger organisations during a privatisation, for example, is in marked contrast to the support being given to the guys up in your area, Peter, where the industry's collapsing because of the oil price.
Yeah.
There are lots of support schemes, and there will be lots coming along if it all goes wrong in Wales and Scunthorpe and that. But what are these guys doing, Peter? What are these micro businesses doing?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm in BNI, and I was one guy I met. He's doing a fabulous job, and he had got paid off as a project manager in oil, and he set up a business in 3D printing. And I went, yeah, 3D printing. But it's fantastic what he's done, because he's done for me. But I'll give you something. What happened? He went into a company who were absolutely desperate for a piece of equipment to be delivered to them, and it couldn't be delivered for months and months.
Yeah.
He says, I can make that for you, and harden this and harden, printed it, and they had it within 3 weeks and saved them absolute fortune. So
yeah.
That was what, and it's not until I sat down with him to see what he could really do, making engineer parts to train people. He's getting them with training companies to train, instead of getting a real live piece of equipment that would cost a fortune to get delivered to site. He can make it to a certain size, and they can actually show them on it, and they can just replicate any bit of it. So that's the use of modern technology, which is going to be fantastic. That's just one business I've seen. There's a lot of business consultants. I've got, Alan, that you met a few weeks ago. He's really busy now. Alan's doing his health and safety, but they've got to go out and fight for the work now. That's the difference.
Yeah, indeed. They're all fighting for a piece of the pie, and the pie's only so big. That's
right. So what I said to them, some of them, I says, you've got to look outside the box, go away out of Aberdeen. And I met another trainer, and I gave a talk the other day, and he says, that's exactly what I've done for 20 years. He says, I didn't do work in Aberdeen. I've spread it throughout the country. And that was one of the problems. We were so easy to get the work in Aberdeen. We were in our own bubble. But you've got to break out. Even though a magician who made loads of money from oil companies doing health and safety for them, two magicians, now they went out and they're looking at the corporate market out with Aberdeen. So there you go. So it's not the end. If Wales shut down, it's not the end of the world, because when the troops went to Dunkirk and they were taking off again, we didn't give up. We went back to Dunkirk, and look where we are today.
Yeah, I take your point, Peter, and you're right. We do manage to adapt and change direction, and we've got pretty close to full employment in the UK, far better than other countries. Okay, yes, you can now have your voucher, Peter. I'm going to bring Starbucks next week. John, what are you drinking next week?
Starbucks, if you're listening, keep your vouchers.
You obviously haven't been following this episode. He jokingly said, come on, give me some vouchers, and they actually posted, but then I think you went over the top, because the next time was only minutes later. Another one.
Sponsored by.
Yes, sponsored by Costa Coffee.
Little slogan on the bottom of the screen.
When they're cold, will they fuel the van? That's the question.
No, they did write to me, and we had a good laugh. Yeah. So, what was the start of the conversation today for anybody listening in?
At the start, we covered Blab changes. We covered European football.
Okay.
Sort of
Manager less Aston Villa.
Oh, I'm glad I wasn't there then. Yeah, for football, because I can't stand it. But listen, this is another first for you.
Right, I'll nip off the
right.
You actually got me sitting inside a van. Oh, call ended. I mean, cut off.
No, you're still here. We can see you.
All right. So, oh yeah, sorry, beg your pardon. So this is a Blab inside a van using 4G, sitting in a vehicle, and I don't know if it's a world first, but there you go. And it's working. We tried it before. I'm not outside McDonald's. I'm outside KFC.
You want chicken for dinner?
So it's no, but isn't it great? Because I do like my 10 o'clock Blab.
Oh, thank you.
And it's fine to me that, and it's actually great to be able to sit in a vehicle and communicate.
Oh yeah.
Who would have thought that would ever happen? Yeah, live.
Indeed.
Fantastic.
But who would have thought we'd all have our own individual phone that we could use anywhere in the world?
Yeah.
Funny enough, I was talking to my dad last night, who's had yet another mini stroke, unfortunately, and completely lost in time now.
Right.
And we were talking about the fact that when we moved into the house they presently live in 1963, there was only one phone in the stretch of houses that they're in, which is about 17, 18 houses long.
Right.
So, doesn't time move from when we were young?
Well, it's funny. I was looking, communications have always been vital in my business, as you know, because I've seen somebody. And I'll tell you who I followed for communications. I followed British Telecom. I even had grey boiler suits at one time. I even had their vehicles because I thought communications is the thing. And communications were and they phoned me once in my earlier career, and they says, "If we're going," and they actually said, "Can we congratulate you on what you're doing?" Because it was the days of the pagers, and then I would run a phone box and I had a BT phone card. I'm not really promoting BT here, but that's everything I used in my business. Remember the BT phone cards?
Oh yeah.
Used to go in and put in the number, and that's how I used to work. So, but yeah, haven't times changed?
They have.
So we've all got to change. When did you last see someone going out, shouting out, "All is well," and lighting gas lamps in the street?
I've never seen that.
No, that's before my time as well.
Well,
and knocker-uppers as well. I would have loved to be around when the knocker-uppers were there, and they used to walk along the street in the morning and tap on the top window and wake people up.
Well, seemingly the street in London still got gas lamps.
Oh yeah, true.
I believe that. So, but the world has changed as far as communications, and absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. So
who else is going about today? How many people you got in today?
Not as many as usual, Peter. We do the replays on YouTube and Facebook, and we end up with north of 100 viewers. But we're waiting for the Blab front page to be sorted out. But we're not going to talk about that again because it's been going on.
So how many people actually view view this after?
After this, with its repositioning, it will get another 80 views.
Okay. And what time do you think's best to Blab in Britain? When people are home after their work, or at a certain time during the day? What do you think would be best if I was to run a Blab for business, for talking about business and talking? What do you think would be a good time?
Well, Blab themselves have decided that 7 p.m. American East Coast time is the perfect time for them to run a Blab, but that's midnight here.
Yeah.
So is 7 p.m. in your only target in the UK a good time in the UK? The answer is we decided on 10 o'clock because we wouldn't have millions of Americans, and we wanted to provide a easy route forward for a non-threatening environment for UK blabbers. So ours is in the morning because of that.
Right. Okay, so what I would propose for myself, because I'm building up in the background people to come up and speak and things like that.
Okay.
And there's not a lot of people using Blab yet. I've spoke to a guy in Lanzarote, and I want him to come on and tell us about Lanzarote, because they got a bit of bad press recently, and I'd say, why should we come to Lanzarote? Other business people that want to come up and talk about their product or service, and just to get them up speaking and get people. So what I want to do is say 7 o'clock, maybe you're right enough, because people have been home, they don't have to leave their house, they're not at their business. Get on the Blab. If they know it's 7 o'clock on a Monday night, it's good for me because my partner goes out dog training. I'm there on my own, so I can get my Blab done. I can let people know it's at 7 o'clock. And I think that might be an ideal time because people are home, etc. Yeah. So how do you feel about that?
Yes, no, seven's good. I mean, I do when I do the interviews. Certainly, when I want an American audience as well, I do them at 7 o'clock. Because 7 o'clock is 2 p.m. Eastern, and even on the West Coast, they're awake at that time. So you've got a target. You've got a larger market if you do it that way.
Yeah.
So I'd say go for it, Peter.
Okay, well that's fine. So just to kind of
an interesting sort of parallel to this. What's a good time to run a business club? Now, there's hundreds and hundreds of the breakfast things, but they've almost died out when you start looking around. I mean, I know your BNI is very successful where you are. But around here, it's gone from like 20 to just 4. We run ours at 7:30, Solihull Business Club, and I don't know what time Stephen's Wiltshire Business Club runs. But Mike down in Plymouth, he's been experimenting with different times with different groups, and the time that he's having the most success for a business club is 6 o'clock in the evening.
Right.
People are coming straight from work to the business club. They haven't gone home, taken the shoes off, relaxed, and thought, "Oh, I can't be asked to put another penny in and go back out again."
Totally agree. Although I go to BNI, when that clock goes off at 5:10 in the morning, I absolutely detest it. But then I get up and get going. But what I think would be good for me is a lunchtime one. Get your lunch and then get away. It's not really eating into your evening time if you've got a family. It's not early mornings. You're up and away, and a lot of people don't like. So
I go to a 1 o'clock one once.
Right.
And that runs until, well, it officially finishes at 2:15. I've never seen it finish before 2:45.
That means
but it is good, and it attracts more people than any other business club I go to.
At 1 o'clock. What I plan to do with, I'm looking to get a Professional Speakers Association mastermind group in Aberdeen to give us some presence instead of just being me. And what I'm looking to do is probably do one for about 6:30 in Aberdeen, 6 o'clock maybe, so people can travel to out with the area and get people there and just catch them before they go home, because I'm diabetic. If I go home and have a big meal, I'll just fall asleep. That's what happens to me. So you're right. I like to be caught when I'm outside rather than going home. It might be hot in the house, and the next thing I'm drifting off to sleep and I can't be bothered. So it's a bad time for me. Yeah.
But if you're getting together people who are already home, then we're back to 7 o'clock being a good time again.
Yeah, the 7 o'clock, if I'm arranging it, I've got to arrange it, so that's fine. But I'm on about face-to-face meetings. Yeah. So have something to eat. You know, you're getting something to eat, and because the PSA down the road, they think they're 6:30 in the evening that they start. You know, and so it's quite amazing to see which ones are the best, because I know they had a BNI one up here. It was the day I don't know what happened, but it didn't work out. You know. So I believe 4 Networking are doing evening ones now.
I've seen a couple of things. It doesn't have a big following in the Midlands, so it's
no.
It's one of those that didn't quite take off. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know. If you go to Essex, you know, it's massive down that way.
Right. Okay.
We just saw the label there, Peter. It's very subtle that time. The Costa label.
It was very. We Just cut the corner of that
I got
eye.
the corner of it. Yeah,
I'd like to know why you parked outside KFC drinking Costa Coffee.
To annoy them until they send me vouchers.
You should be advertising KFC coffee now. Are they open?
I'm with me.
Does anybody?
I'm with me. Watch this. You might watch this. Wooly. I'll take some here. Wooly. I'll let you see Norman Wisdom.
I've seen Norman Wisdom. He doesn't look
Wooly.
like Norman Wisdom.
Look at him.
Morning.
Yeah.
You're live on it.
And Gordon's in Blab too. That's the guys in Blab. Show the Aberkill hats, guys.
All right, more advertising. We need sponsorship, Peter. Going forward. Right. Brilliant.
Taking what Peter's been talking about, sort of a new Blab adventure. I've got this thing about home workers, people who work from home and work from home a couple of days a week. And you know how in the city or in big business in London, they go for a beer after work, and sometimes it can be several beers after work and a curry and all that sort of thing. I've got this idea of the first British Blab pub, so that when it gets to 5:30, 6 or something like that, and you've been working from home, okay, family's due home or whatever, I just have this idea that you just sort of switch a Blab on and just chat about what's been going on in the day, a little bit like what we're doing, but at the end of the day, bring your own drinks and all that sort of thing. So I'm going to give that a go, I think, start next Monday.
The Blab Pub, I think that's a brilliant song.
Yeah, we'll come along.
I think it's sponsored by Jack Daniels. Have I mentioned Jack Daniels before?
The other thing, if I was to give a talk or something and set it up in a way, would people be able to see me on the stage live with us as such?
If there's a camera there, then you can broadcast anything, can't you?
Yeah, I think that would be good for some. The only big fear is if it breaks down during training or something like that. But yeah, correct me if I'm wrong,
the same. If you're training and you've got a group of guys in the room, what happens when the bulb goes in the projector? It's just the same.
Yeah. Okay. And you're not allowed to charge, are you?
Who says you can't charge?
No, I thought you mentioned that before about using. You can pay for the training. Say somebody's going to do training online. Yeah. Would they be able to get people to pay, then meet them on Blab?
You can. As of 2 days ago, yes.
Okay.
Because you set up the Blab when you create a Blab, you set it up as unlisted. Okay, instead of public. Right. For a date in the future, and then you set up your Eventbrite event. Yeah. And when they've paid on Eventbrite, you send the link to the Blab. That's it.
Okay. Now, so these people, if they've paid, they've got a link to come into that Blab.
Exactly.
Right. What if you want to kick somebody out? Can you do that as well?
Yeah, you can. It works exactly the same way as a public Blab. So if you want to kick somebody out, block somebody, you can do that. And if you kick them out, you're only kicking them out of that show.
It's quite interesting. Yeah. It's quite interesting. A few years back, because I done this sort of thing, but I used Skype and I bought Skype where I could get up to 10 videos coming in. Is it still on the go?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't looked at it for a while. Still doing that. I just think from my industry, from my pest control industry, this is what we need. And I've asked them to do this for a while, and I think this is a platform we could do it on because it looks to be quite stable. Because I'm going to way down to, for me to go and see a day's training, I have to travel down, stay in a hotel overnight, watch it, and then travel home at night. So I'm gonna see if we can get someone set up for some sessions in November that we have at Birmingham. So I have to travel once a year. I have to travel down to Birmingham, and I'll give you a laugh about this. One of the guys in the forum, do you know what he said? This is the truth. He wrote and he says, "Disgrace. I went to the exhibition. It took me half an hour to travel there. I never got a space, so I turned up. What a waste of time." I said, "Well, listen, I travelled from Aberdeen, came down, got the first space, seen the whole thing, slept overnight and went back next day." I just couldn't believe it. They had it on their doorstep.
Is that at the NEC?
Yes.
Well, when you come down, you've got to tell me in advance because I live 3 miles from the NEC.
Oh, well,
There you
absolutely, because what I usually do is I usually get a hotel overnight. I fly down. My arms are bloody sore by the time I get there.
Oldens are the best, aren't they? Oldens are the best.
And yeah, so no, and I've always been sitting there in the hotel and going, well, so I'll take you up in that, John. Absolutely fantastic. I'll go and book an EasyJet flight now, or no, BMI.
Yeah.
I'll book it early.
My eldest lad used to work at the NEC.
All right, okay, yeah. So we've done it at the Motorcycle Museum for years. And so what area is it you live in? Without giving me the postcode.
I live in Solihull, and the Motorcycle Museum and the NEC are both in the Solihull.
I was actually in Solihull this year.
I
was down at Brad Burton's camp, remember? It's done at, is it the Village Hotel or something like that? Yeah. If I'd only known, I would have given you a phone.
I hate Brad Burton. Never mind.
You could have bought me lunch.
I've just got something against the pizza man. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I know
something about him that makes me go, oh! Yeah.
Well, he's like Marmite, as you know, and I'm like Marmite up here. Some people look and see me coming and they go, oh no! And they turn around. But you can't please everybody. But listen, it's all right. I'll come down. If I'm coming down, I'll give you a phone and you can come and buy me my dinner.
All right.
There you go. Brilliant. That's networking. Right. Okay. Don't go anywhere. But we
50 minutes.
50 minutes. Just
switch the recording off.
We'll switch the recording off. Thank you to everybody who's watched us, and we look forward to seeing you on our 21st next week. And if I can get the mouse over to the side of the screen, we'll pause recording, and we'll see you next Thursday, 10 o'clock. Goodbye for now. And it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from him. And him.